Hello everybody, Andy here again. Just sort of a follow-up really, this video on the one I did just a minute ago about why do people watch YouTube. And one of the things I think is the whole need to communicate that we seem to have nowadays. The need to communicate seems to have grown. It's from what I can make out, especially over the last few years, and all the growth of the social networking sites that are on the internet, whether it be YouTube, MySpace, places like that, MSN, which I know my son uses a lot, my daughter does as well. Daughter also uses a site called Bebo, which I know is very popular over here in the UK, not so much in the US. I know it's probably got your own sites over there and possibly in other parts of the world as well. But they're growing all the time, and there seems to be a much bigger need to communicate than what there ever used to be. We've always communicated, obviously, but over the last few years, it just seems to have exploded. We seem to need to stay in touch with each other far more than we've ever done before. I don't know why that is, maybe. I know people move about more now. I know years and years ago, I mean, I've done a little bit of sort of family history research, genealogy, call it what you will, and going back into the 1800s, I don't know what it's like where you live, but whatever part of the world you're in, but in those days, people basically stayed in one village. They hardly moved out of that village. If they went anywhere, it was like to the next village or the next town. Some people never went anywhere apart from that. Not like nowadays, where we're constantly moving about. Families break up and move all over the place, all over the world. So lots of people immigrate, whatever you want to call it. We're going everywhere nowadays, aren't we? It's a much faster world, a much more free-moving world. We're able to do it, I suppose, whereas the people before weren't able to do that. So that's one of the reasons. But maybe that's the reason we need to communicate more. Families are breaking up, so the families need to keep in touch, which is all very good. And at least we've got the means to do it now, haven't we? We can use the internet, webcams like this. You can talk to your relatives the other side of the world using the webcam. And an internet connection. Absolutely brilliant. You know, a few years ago you couldn't even have done that. So that's keeping people in touch. But the other ways, like mobiles or cell phones, whatever you want to call them, they've sort of exploded over the last few years as well. And I do sometimes wonder is how certain people ever manage to get along without them. These sort of cell phones, mobiles, people use them all the time, and people seem to talk to their sort of relatives, their friends, lovers, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever it might be, far more than they ever used to. You see people with the text messaging and all this sort of stuff going on. My son last month got his mobile phone bill through, and 360 texts in 1 month. that's not unusual at all. I don't think he's bad. But why do people need that? A lot of these are people that they've literally just seen. They've seen them at school, college, friends that they're constantly in touch with, but they still need that need to communicate. So why do we need to do that? I know it's more accessible now. There's more email, wireless internet connections and the mobile, cell phones, etc., etc. It's all there. But I saw an article in a magazine, probably comes out across the world, called New Scientist a couple of weeks ago actually. Don't normally buy the magazine, but it caught my eye in a supermarket and had an article all about the whole social networking phenomenon. Very interesting article. It might well be online on their website nowadays, so check it out if you will. But one of the things it was saying on there, and it gets you thinking, is that this growth of networking sites is that people put things up there, personal things actually, which they possibly would never do to, especially not someone, if you met someone in the street for the first time, met someone at a social gathering, people are pouring out their hearts, people are sort of giving out personal secrets, not dangerous secrets or anything, but just sort of personal things that they probably would never have done in before. And I've seen that myself. I've seen that on YouTube. I've seen videos where people were sort of saying things about things that have happened in their lives, about their sort of depression and the problems that they've got. And it got me thinking, I sort of like YouTube, I sort of think of it as like the psychiatrist's couch of the internet. So there's a thought for you. So YouTube's become sort of the psychiatrist's couch of the internet there, and we're all sort of here. Don't think I've done it, but we're lots of people sort of pouring out their hearts, pouring out their thoughts and their problems, and I suppose by their video responses and all the comments they're getting support, aren't they? They're getting care and support from all the other people that are out there. So that's good. I think that's great. And if people, as you say, have a problem shared is a problem halved, or something along those lines. Is an old sort of saying that I seem to remember from years ago. So, and if that's the case, once again, as I said in an earlier video, maybe YouTube and all these other places can sort of change the way we look at things, change the world a little bit, which is would be great, wouldn't it? Um, One thing I know that is a concern to lots of people with all this communication is, especially with the younger people, sort of spending all their time in front of their PCs, up in their rooms or something, locked away in their bedrooms, and the parents worrying about them and all the sort of safety and security implications that we hear about on the internet. And they're very valid. I totally understand that there are people out there, predators, whatever you want to call them, who are out there doing the wrong things, and they're sort of infiltrating these sites, and I suppose that's one of the good things about YouTube, is that with the videos you can see the person you're talking to. I know that there's possibly ways that people can get around that, but the majority of the time you can see the person, you can weigh them up and make your own ideas up if you were ever to wanted to meet them for whatever reason. Whereas with some of the other ones, it's all text based, the written word, whatever. Doesn't make it quite so safe, but there's always been problems with that. This isn't a new phenomenon. This is something that's been around since the year dot, I think. We've always had predators in some way or other. People just might be safer in their rooms, and they might be out on the streets in some neighbourhoods, some areas. I know that. So yes, it is a big issue, and it's something we should watch out for. I know I tend to, with my children, sort of point them in the right direction, give them sort of ideas as to what not to do. But this social networking is not going to stop, and that's good. It's going to keep us going. One thing to think, if they're up there in their beds, they could be talking to people right across the world, and they're making friends all over the place, keeping in contact with people. So, and one way that I know is that I actually know of a couple of internet weddings that have taken place. Marriages made in cyberspace. So we used to sort of marriages made in heaven, and their marriages now made in cyberspace. So a great story the other day, actually. We'll stop in a minute. About a Hindu girl over, I think it was a Hindu girl in Britain, met on the internet a Muslim guy over in India, and they got talking via the internet, would never have met in any other way. And she went out there and they got married, sort of a cross-religion marriage there, and which is something, especially in that part of the world, it's always a bit of a touchy subject, sort of a Hindu and a Muslim getting together. I don't think the families were happy, but that's great. You know, there they are meeting on the internet, getting together, and doing something different, and that's great. So, and I know other people that I had a friend actually who met a girl living in Britain, met a girl via the internet in Australia, and he's now moved out there, happily married and everything. So the internet is a wonderful tool, isn't it? So the need to communicate is doing us some good. So any thoughts you got on that? That'd be great. So what do you think? Do you think it's a good thing? I do personally. But anyway, thanks for watching again. That's all for me for now then. Thank you very much. Goodbye.